Discovering who you are today is the first step to being who you will be tomorrow. Join Deborah Powell and Barry O'Donnell on a step-by-step journey into finding your heart light, a podcast series of self-exploration and discovery. Are you ready to become the best version of you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Barry. I'm coming to you tonight or this morning, whatever time of day it is for you, depending on what part of the world you're in right now. I'm up in Alberta, Canada. Now, I kind of got thinking, being as we're getting closer to the core issues in these steps to reconnecting to yourself, maybe I should dial in a little bit more from Alberta, Canada. Make it more specific. I'm actually living in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. I'm here today with my partner, Deb, down in the Southern Hemisphere, somewhere in Australia. And today we're going to be talking about above the line and below the line thinking, which is all about a mindset and an attitude towards life. Before we jump in, Deb, say hello to our audience and we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Barry. I love that introduction, and Medicine Hat, that sounds very interesting. So I'd love to share with everyone. Yes, I am in Australia, New South Wales, and it's at the country capital of Australia, which is Tamworth. It's a beautiful little area and quite rural. So that's where I'm living at the moment, quite a way down from Barry, and that's got nothing to do with the fact that I am below and he is above. We can both be above, I guess, depending on which way you look at it. It's all to do with thinking, our mindset, and putting things in a little bit of perspective. So, Barry, how are we going to start today?
I'd love to start off by thanking everyone that's been following our page, the comments we've been receiving, the feedback we're getting, the recognition and awareness that it feels like we're creating a ripple and having an impact on people's lives. So I greatly appreciate anyone who watches our podcast or listens to it on Podbean and your comments. And I trust that you'll continue on this journey and that you're getting value out of what we're offering you here. When we talk about above the line and below the line thinking, call it proactive or reactive. There's lots of labels you can put on it. If your thinking style and your mindset is above the line, you're all about accountability, responsibility. You take ownership for who you are and what you do and what you say. You feel like you've got control of your life. You control what's going to happen to you. And even if you're doing things and you don't find you're in control, you can control how you respond to it. You compare that to below the line thinking. It's more like the victim mentality. You constantly blame everybody else for all your problems and all your troubles. It's never your fault. You're judging everybody else and feeling you're being judged all the time. You're constantly comparing your life to other people's lives. You're just looking for ways to validate your thinking staying below that line. No. When I share this topic in group sessions, I like referring to it as, imagine that line that we're talking about is actually water. So if your head is above that line, you can breathe, you can see what's out there. You know, no matter, even if you're neck deep in your water, you're still okay, and you're going to be okay. But if your head is below that water, it's not a place that can survive for very long. That's where all the trouble happens, and that's where it gets easy to get dragged down. It can be like, another analogy, it could be like quicksand. Once you start fighting it, it just sucks you down. You have to stay still. Another way of looking at it too, when you think that, while we're using water as an analogy, so often, and it's an age-old mindset, is the glass half full or half empty? You know, it's not just those two choices, it's also refillable. So that's the main point. You can see it any way you want, but know that it's refillable. Yeah, I'll empty it, but I'll just fill it back up. Good attitude. I'll empty it. Now I'm going to die of thirst. You'll go on some kind of justification, and it's somebody else's fault for that glass being empty. Or is that making sense to you, Deb?
Look, it certainly is, Barry. I don't know about blaming someone because my glass is empty because I drank it, but I still like the analogy, and certainly the one of the water level, because it's very true that when we do have that below the line thinking, as you call it, it is an area where we can really drown in the overwhelm because we feel that we've lost the control. And as you said, it's very much of a downward spiral. And it can really, when this type of thing happens and that overwhelm comes in, it's not just overwhelm that happens. We can then become very anxious about things or suffer anxiety, and it can go lower and lower and lower, and it just takes us down further. And it's really important that at any stage that you become aware of what's going on, start asking yourself some very high quality questions, or questions that not of why is this happening to me, but what can I do to change this, to start kicking those feet, to start rising to the surface, to gain that breath again, because it is a very consuming feeling when you do get when we are down below the line. So it's looking for that light at the end of the tunnel, if that's what it is, or the light above the water level, that breath that you need to take. And sometimes it only needs one breath to start breathing again and become further up. And as I said, I mean, like, I know that it's really, really difficult once we do seem to be below that line, but I also feel that it's vitally important that if ever you feel that you're there, reach out to someone, a very close friend, some family members, or even a coach, because it's vitally important that I have found that by being able to talk about the way that we're feeling is sometimes the breath that we need to survive and to get us back above the line. So don't ever doubt yourself or feel that you're going to be judged. Learn to talk. Now, with our podcast series, we've been talking a lot about language and self-talk and all of this care. So hopefully this has helped you a lot to really review what you do in your life and the way that you can ask yourself questions of how perhaps you can do things a little bit different, and allow that mindset to start coming in a lot more positive and functional way to keep yourself above that line. That's where you want to be. Now, it's never and always above there, but once you're up there, and you're up there on a regular basis, and you fall under that line at times, you're going to exactly know what to look for and how to get above again. And this is what we're aiming for in this podcast, to give you that strength, the ability, the understanding and knowledge to be able to handle any situation, regardless of where on the spectrum you are at that stage, and to be able to self-regulate, self-manage, and to be able to help yourself with support. Remember, always have people around you as well, good quality people that you trust and can help you in this. So that resonated a lot with me, Barry. I think we all go above and below at times, and it's a really great understanding to know that we do have the ability, and it is our choice of where we take it.
Excellent points, Deb. And I love how you brought up that spiral effect. When you really take a deep look at this subject and you look at where you are in above or below the line, if you're in a state of not taking responsibility for your life and not being accountable for life, and you start blaming other people, you start focusing on past experiences that support your lack of effort or lack of commitment to yourself, right? As we've talked about this in other podcasts, that we will look for things to prove that we are right. If we believe something, we're going to look for the evidence to find that we're right. You talked about getting help. So when you're in that state that you're just feeling stuck, feeling lost, feeling hopeless, if you don't do anything to get out of that state, and you start looking for more things to as evidence that it's acceptable for you to be like that, and it's acceptable for you to blame other people, it does start to spiral downwards. It gets down into that anxiety, down into depression. If it's left unhelped, if you don't seek support, you get down to the level where now you need professional help. Now, you may need professional help before you get to that level. Our intention here is to help create an awareness about what happens when you leave things unchecked. What happens when you choose to play the victim instead of choosing to be the valor, choosing to be your own hero if you want to go that far. When things can spiral down, but they can also spiral up. Once you start taking that breath, start taking ownership for your life, start taking ownership for the decisions that you make and the choices of how you want to be. When you choose to be happy, when you choose to take responsibility, when you understand you have all these choices and all the power, that also spirals up. Recognizing that builds your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your peace and happiness levels go up. Your ability for greater tolerances goes up. It can spiral all the way up to the point where you're just in that loving, compassionate, caring state and just giving back to others because you know that you can. Ultimate realization of, hey, I'm in a good place and I'm doing so that I'm happy to help other people. Life happens though. We can be in even the highest state. Something happens to us and it may knock the wheels right out from under us and you fall below the line. But if you know what that line looks like, you can make a choice. You can say, okay, this isn't where I want to be. I'm not going to go down this path. I'm going to rise above it. And that's a choice. You can just, I'm going to rise above whatever is trying to hold me down. And if you're trying to hold me down, guess what? I need to let go of that. Let go of the stuff that doesn't support you and help you rise up. And that may include people. That's your choice. I love how you said, Deb, surround yourself with people that love, nurture, support you, that want to see you grow. That is a great group of people to be with.
Absolutely, Barry. It certainly helps, and we do need people around us. And it's not always the case. And sometimes we do feel perhaps we're a little bit isolated or a little bit on our own, that we feel the need that we have to make those decisions, but it's not the case. And it only means reaching out to see who they are, because you are never alone as much as you may feel that you are at times. Now, as Barry explained, once you start rising above that water level and start feeling that I can do this, and that happiness and all of those lovely feelings that come along, then the others will start coming with them, and you'll start bringing everything back to the surface to be able to get that breath and move forward and feel good. But it means just starting with one thing. If you don't know what to start with, just pick the one thing that is most important for you, but start small. And everything in life always starts with that single step. So it's really vitally important. And that single step automatically means that you have just taken a step above the line, because you are willing to try. You're willing to give it a go, and you're willing to find out. And it means asking those quality questions to yourself. How can I make this work? Why? And you'll get there. So it's certainly that overriding feeling of that joy, that happiness you'll start feeling.
Taking one step. If you just take one step, and then you give yourself credit for taking that step, because now you're one step closer to where you want to be and one step further away from where you don't want to be. Great way to look at it. It's mindset. It's above the line, below the line. Every step you take, you get closer to where you want to go. Every step you make in your personal development is getting you closer to who you want to be. It should be getting closer to who you really are, to your true self, your authentic self. That's what these podcasts are all about, is that authentic self. Talking about mindset shifts, which is what above the line and below the line thinking is all about. We're getting deeper into ourselves here. This is the point in time that if you've been applying anything we've talked about in these podcasts, now we're kind of saying take it to the next level. And that's your mindset. You've come this far, you've taken this many steps. No matter what you've applied to your life, if you've applied anything, you know what we've been talking about, you're not the same person you were before you applied that to your life. Give yourself credit for that. Take that mindset now, that belief in ourselves, the language that we use, the pause button. Take all of that, throw it in with this, with your mindset, and say, now my attitude towards life is I can do anything I want to do. I can choose to be happy. I can choose to rise above whatever is holding me back. I can choose to let go of anything that doesn't want to support me. You can tell yourself, I've carried this baggage around long enough. It's time to let that go. Let them live their own lives. Live your life with you being in the power, you having all the control, you driving your own bus. Because if you're the driver, you get to make all the decisions on when you're stopping, when you're starting, where you're going. And that's another great way to look at it. Take control of your life. And don't live your life to please other people, because that's keeping you below the line. It's giving them the power over your life on what it's going to look like, when you're going to be happy, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. If that's the life you want to live, then, and you're happy with it, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want your life to be your life and make your own decisions and have all the power and control of your destiny, you may need to have an attitude shift. You may need to change your mindset to start thinking above the line and start thinking, when you thinking in a manner that when you look at a problem, you don't blame that problem on why you can't proceed. You see what the problem is and you look for the solution. That's above the line thinking. I'm looking for the solution here. And then I know if I'm going to try this, and if that doesn't work, okay, I just learned that that doesn't work. So I'm going to try something else. When you're feeling stuck in life, I can reiterate what you said, Deb, about you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Well, yeah, you're stuck. You need to do something different. What haven't you tried? And maybe all it is reaching out to grab somebody's hand that can help pull you out. Maybe it's just changing your attitude towards yourself and say, you know what? You may have got away with pushing me around and treating me like that before, but try me now. Like, go ahead, try me now. I'm not the same person I was back then. I'm not going to let you hold me back anymore. And you say it with conviction and with assertiveness, and the power just comes out in you. That is all above the line thinking, taking it to wherever you want to go. When you let somebody else drive your bus, you're just along for the ride. They're going to make all the decisions. And even if do they still have the dingers that pull the quarter and you want to stop? I don't know. I haven't been on a public transit in a long time. However you get off at your stop, if that driver doesn't stop, you don't get to get off. So you have no control. You're along for the ride. Now, going along for the ride might be great at an amusement park, but in life, I'm going to speak for myself here. I like being the driver.
Yes, I must admit, I'm not a very comfortable passenger, but it's good to be a passenger sometimes. I think it's important to be able to be that passenger, but I think it's vitally important where it comes to our life to be the driver. Vitally important. And that takes us to that above the line thinking as you want to talk. And it's also about the way that we language things. So above the line, being above the line is not just with our thinking, it's the way that we talk and the way that we feel, and even the way that we sit, to be able to produce that, I think, that better feeling. And that, well, I think it comes without saying that if you just even readjust your position, it will automatically feel very, very different. So above the line thinking, as you say, Barry, or being above the line has so many positive outcomes to our own natural abilities and our mindset and the way that we feel. It's certainly something that we do want to drive our own bus for, drive our own car, or at least kick our feet as hard as we can to rise up above that waterline. So it's a wonderful thing. And during, listening to all of what you were saying, Barry, it certainly has involved each little step along the way that we've been doing in the podcast to come to, if a nice quality question you could ask yourself, how do I do this? How do I get above the line? Check out some of the podcasts, because all of these will give you the ability to understand how you can give yourself credit, the way that by talking to yourself to be a little bit more positive in the language that you use to yourself, to others, because below the line doesn't just affect you. It will affect you. It'll affect family. It affects relationships with yourself, with others, and can affect your career. So if you want the best for your life and you want to be the best, always find out how you can rise above that line and stay there. So a great little topic, a great model to use, and a good one to, I think, have on hand and to be able to refer to during our life, because there are times that we all fall.
Now, I'm going to trust that everyone that has been following our podcast is in a different place now than before the first one that they listened to. Now, having said that, and we're talking about above line and below line thinking and taking responsibility, we almost need to attach a warning label on this part, because when you go through personal development and personal growth, not everybody's going to like that. If you serve a purpose or fulfill a role in somebody else's life and you start to change and grow and evolve, and they don't want to grow with you, they're going to try and hold you back. So personal growth, it's personal for a reason. This is about you. When you take responsibility, accountability for your life, I just want you to realize too that when you grow, not everyone is going to come along with you on that ride. You may lose some people in your life. Now, my attitude towards that is, thank you for showing me who you really are. Thank you for showing me that I was needed to serve a role in your life. And if I'm not fulfilling that role, I'm not needed in your life anymore. Thank you. Carry on. Good luck. Now I've opened up my life to possibilities of people who want to be around me, of the people that you'll attract into your life because of your growth. Put it another way, put it in a business aspect. If you're an employee, you can have a relationship with your fellow employees, but if you get promoted to a supervisor or manager capacity, those people are going to look at you different. And you may have to treat them different in that business scenario. It could be a whole nother conversation we get into, but I always will dial this back into yourself. As you are in control. You choose how you're going to treat other people. You choose what you're going to do if people bail on you because you're growing. If you choose to stop growing because those people are more important than your growth, that is your choice. And as long as you're happy with it, and I'm going to say happy with it because that's above the line thinking, good for you. If you're doing it out of obligation, out of feeling guilty, out of duty, I'm using language now that's below the line. I'm giving all the responsibility and accountability away. I'm not keeping aim for myself. If I say you made me feel guilty because I did something, actually, I just made myself feel guilty. They didn't do anything. I made myself feel guilty. So I have to own that. If I don't own it, I'm below the line thinking still. And when you go above the line, you can think of it of mountains and valleys. The bottom of the valley may have a nice view, but it's limited. The top of that mountain, your view is unlimited. It's a huge difference. That's peaking above the line. When you're at the point that you're so high up that you look down towards everything else, not at. I don't want to look down at. That's language, which is below the line, because everybody's the same. Nobody's better than anyone else. Whether your view is different than mine doesn't make you any better than me. So just keep that in perspective. Where do you want to be in your life? Do you want to look at life through your heart? Or do you want to look at life through the mud, through the quagmire, through all the hustle and bustle and anxiety issues that get thrown at you? We're telling you today that if you've applied anything we've talked about in podcasts, you can handle anything that life has thrown at you so far, and you can handle anything that life is going to throw at you. And with the mindset focused on solutions and focused on goals and not focused on the problems, you're going to be unstoppable.
Very true that there's certainly a much better view from the top of the mountain. And it takes a few steps and struggles maybe to be able to get up there, but it is certainly well worth it once you're there. It's all about looking into yourself and really of what you want for you, and looking for that heart, and finding your heart light podcast series is one of the ways that we are certainly hoping and helping you to be able to guide you to find your true version of who you actually are and want to be. So I'm loving this particular podcast because I think it's a very valuable one that only aids for everything that we've been going through. And we're both here for you, Barry and I, through our Facebook group and podcast series and our YouTube channel. So I hope you've been enjoying today's episode. Anything else you'd like to add, Barry, before we close today's session?
Well, I'm thinking I might need to clarify that there are a lot of people that love that living in that valley, that love all that the valley offers them. So the point to that was just a reference of a height perceptions. The point of this whole podcast is, as long as it's your choice to be there, you can live down in that valley with a beautiful river flowing beside you, or the brook, and have the lush trees around you and the flowers. And that's absolutely gorgeous, because most nature scenes are filled with these things. That nature has a way of just giving back, of just fulfilling us. So wherever you choose to be, as long as it's your choice to be there, then you're above the line, and your mindset is above the line, and you're taking responsibility and accountability. And I just, now to clear that up, and yeah, I certainly do trust that all of our listeners are getting value from our podcasts. We know you're at different places in your journey, and we know that not every podcast we present is going to resonate with you. But we know that you'll get something out of every one of them. Whether it resonates or not, we trust that you'll get something out of it. We can trust that you're applying some of this to your life. And we can trust that you will choose to keep going on this journey to reconnect with your authentic self, fall back in love with yourself, and take control of your life and start living it on your terms. We're at a deep level here, or we're at a high level, depending on how you want to look at it. It's a journey that I love going on. I can tell you, as one of the co-hosts in this, that sharing this journey in the podcast is making a difference in my life too. It's good to be able to give back. It's good to be able to share. It's good to connect with people. So this gives back to us as well. And I'm looking forward to our next episode, and I'm looking forward to the comments and feedback that we get. And I'm looking forward to hearing your stories of any growth and changes you've had in your life when we get closer to the end of our podcast series. But until then, be well, take care of yourself, take responsibility for your life, and keep shining. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks so much, Barry. It was a great episode. I love listening to everything that you said today. It was some incredibly valued information and help for our wonderful listeners that we really look forward to joining next podcast that we have, which will be our episode 11. I can't believe we've already done 10 at this stage. So it's really exciting. Finding your heart light is the journey that we're taking together, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, Barry. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Deb.